Hello everyone, welcome to P3 Knowledge. I'm your trainer Salah Haswa, and today we'll be talking about the PMBoK 5th edition structure. So, why is it important for us to understand the PMBoK structure? First of all, it will help us to understand how the knowledge is distributed and organized within the PMBoK. Second, it will help us to understand how everything is connected. So, in order to understand the PMBoK 5th edition structure, we have three main elements to understand and discuss. Those three main elements are knowledge area, process group, and process. Knowledge area, set of processes under a specialized area within the project management, such as risk management, cost management, time management, etc. And we have 10 of them within the PMBoK. The process group, set of processes under a management phase, and we have 5 of them. Process, series of activities acted on inputs in order to create certain outputs, and we have 47 of them. Now let's talk and address each one of them in detail, starting with the knowledge area. Now, when we're going to talk about the 10 knowledge areas, we're going to start with those three special ones: scope, time, and cost. So why those three in particular are special? Well, first of all, because those, unlike other knowledge area, have baselines. And since they have baselines, it means we can use them in order to measure the overall project performance. And one of the things that we use is the earned value technique, and we have another video for that. Now, what about the other knowledge areas? We have quality, human resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. And of course, the 10th knowledge area that will combine all those knowledge areas together and make the proper trade-off between them toward the project goals would be the integration. Next, the process groups. We have 5 of them: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing. And like we mentioned earlier, it's more of a management phase rather than a technical phase, because when we're talking about technical phase, could be design phase, testing phase, integration phase, but here we're talking about the management phases. When we're talking about initiating, it's all about defining a new project or phase and obtaining authorization. Planning, it's about defining the course of action that has to be taken in order to achieve the project objectives. Executing, it's about implementing that course of action in order to complete the defined work. Monitoring and control, track and review project performance by monitoring the whatever actual performance we're having against the plan. Closing, it's all about finalizing all activities within the project. So what about the main output from the initiating process group? It's actually the project charter, and it's that document, official document, that will give you the formal authorization to start implementing and delivering your project. What about the output of the planning? It would be the project management plan, which is the complete course of action that need to be taken in the overall project in order to achieve the objectives. Executing, the output would be, of course, deliverables, because this process group is all about creating deliverables. What about monitoring and control? Would be bunch of corrective and preventive actions that will make sure that the actual implemented work is in line with our plan. Closing would be the final handover. Now bear in mind that those process groups are not indiscrete, they're actually overlapping. That means while we're doing planning, we could be doing monitoring and controlling. While we're doing executing, we could be doing some closing for some parts or some contracts we have within the project. And this is how all the process groups are actually overlapping. Process. Now we have 3 main things for each process. We have inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. Inputs is what you need for you to conduct or complete this process. Tools and techniques is what you're going to use in order to do this process. Outputs is whatever you're going to produce out of this process. And as you can see from this chart, we have the inputs first that will be taken by certain tools and techniques processed in order to give you the outputs. Here's a very important point. Since we have 47 processes here within the PMBoK, each process, you have to understand, it should fall under a specific process group and a specific knowledge area. And since we have 47 of them, we will have a process map, which is an overview for the overall processes that falls under each knowledge area and process group. So let's talk about the process map. We need to start with listing down the process groups in columns, and then along with it we're going to list down the 10 knowledge area in rows. The intersection between those two will create those processes. Now, before we start talking about the processes within the process map, we need to understand that numbering of the knowledge area will start from number 4. Why? If you look up the PMBoK 5th edition, you will notice that the first 3 chapters are introductory, and the chapter number 4, it's the integration chapter, which is the first knowledge area to be talked about in details within that chapter. That's why it has the number 4. Okay, so let's take integration for example. The intersection between the integration knowledge area along with the process groups will give us the following processes. 4.1, develop project charter. 4.2, develop project management plan. 4.3, direct and manage project work. 4.4, monitor and control project work. 4.5, perform integrated change control. And 4.6, close project or phase. Now, it's not necessarily going to be the same way for the rest of the knowledge areas, that it's going to have a process within each process group. For example, for the scope, we have only within the planning and monitoring controlling process groups. And also same thing for the time and so on. And for us, it's very important to keep this process map in mind while studying throughout the PMBoK. It should be your main reference because it will give you the overall layout of how everything is connected with the PMBoK. And since it's the main layout for the overall PMBoK, it will give you an idea how everything is correlated and linked to each other. Thank you very much. I'm your trainer Salah Haswa. Please feel free to like and subscribe our videos, and feel free to contact us on info@p3knowledge.com or at one of our social media.